These are the final moments of Lilia's life, playing together with her younger sister, something they'd always do while their mother worked in the office next door. But
in what is a truly devastating incident. We're still working through a number of lines of inquiry. We have specialist officers and detectives working around the clock to ensure we can progress our investigations as quickly as we can.
In the middle of a crowded street, a 9-year-old girl was suddenly stabbed to death, US No, in front of her younger sister, and just a few steps away from her mother. The case shocked the whole of England. Why was a child brutally murdered in the middle of a crowded place while having no grudge against the murderer? Let's reenact this gruesome case. On the 28th of July 2022, the town of Boston, Lincolnshire, a small and peaceful community in the east of England, became the focus of the whole country.
this is where Lilia was attacked. Police say they believe she suffered a single stab wound at 6:15 last Thursday evening. Within minutes, emergency services were called, but there wasn't anything they could do.
In the middle of the bustling streets, when the shops had just turned on the lights, a brutal murder occurred. Lilia Valaitait, 9 years old, a happy and innocent girl of Lithuanian origin. Davidas Skebas, 22 years old, of Lithuanian origin, was an immigrant worker living in Boston, Lincolnshire. He lived in a small apartment near the scene, had little interaction with neighbors, and was often commented as strange, isolated. Without a serious criminal record or personal grudge, Skebas's behavior always made people around him feel uneasy. Investigations showed that the attack on Lilia did not stem from any conflict or clear motive. Skebas chose to act randomly and meaninglessly, causing public shock. It was that coldness that turned him into a symbol of fear. Evil can appear anywhere, from a seemingly harmless person. Lilia Valaitait was born in 2013, the eldest daughter in a Lithuanian family who moved to live in the town of Boston, Lincolnshire. At only 9 years old, she was known as an active, lively girl who always smiled, making everyone who came into contact with her feel good. Teachers and neighbors all loved and praised Lilia as a well-behaved, cute child who was sociable with friends. On the afternoon of the 28th of July 2022, Lilia and her little sister were playing right in front of the office door where her mother worked. The two sisters innocently arranged flowers in a plastic bucket, their giggles echoing on the crowded street. No one expected that this ordinary moment would become the last moments in the life of a 9-year-old girl. That afternoon, 6:20 p.m., on the 28th of July 2022, Fountain Lane in downtown Boston was as bustling as ever. In front of a small office, the two sisters Lilia Valaitait played carefreely. She arranged wildflowers in a plastic bucket, while her younger sister chattered beside her. Their mother, Mrs. Inga, worked in the office right next door, occasionally looking up through the glass window, reassured that her children were still in sight. But in a short moment, that peace was gone. From the end of the street, Davidas Skebas suddenly appeared. He did not say a word, nor did he give any warning signs. With cold steps, he walked straight towards Lilia. When he got close, in just a split second, Skebas pulled out a knife from his body and stabbed her straight in the chest. The fatal stab caused Lilia to collapse immediately. Blood spread red on the sidewalk. Lilia's little sister panicked, and the passers-by were stunned, not believing what had just happened before their eyes. Everything happened in just a few seconds, so fast that no one had time to react. Her mother, Inga, looked out from the office, witnessed the horrifying scene. Her daughter collapsed, bleeding non-stop. She rushed out, screaming for help, but it was all too late. Skebas immediately ran away, disappearing into the crowd, leaving behind a child lying motionless. Witnesses around quickly called for an ambulance, but even though the medical staff arrived very quickly, all efforts to save her life failed. The wound was too deep. Lilia died at the scene, right in front of her sister and in the desperate arms of her mother. The scene that day left an indelible impression on all who witnessed it. A girl only 9 years old, senselessly murdered in the middle of a crowded street, in a normally peaceful community. And it was the suddenness, the cold randomness of this murder that made the case one of the most shocking tragedies in the UK in 2022. Immediately after the tragedy occurred, Lincolnshire County Police immediately sealed off the entire Fountain Lane area. The scene quickly turned into a sea of flashing ambulance and police lights, attracting the attention of the entire town. One of the most horrific murders in local history had just occurred, and the pressure on the authorities was immense. The investigation was launched that night. Forensic teams collected blood traces, samples, and examined the entire area. But most importantly, the CCTV system spread throughout the town center. Just hours later, police found video footage of a young man wandering near the scene, then leaving in a hurry shortly after Lilia was stabbed. The image was blurry, but enough to identify the man and suspicious behavior. From this clue, the police expanded the scope of the investigation, checking the list of immigrants and residents around the area. Witnesses living nearby also provided information. A young Lithuanian man, with a taciturn appearance, often walking alone, with a habit of wandering aimlessly. The portrait of the suspect gradually became clear. Davidas Skebas, 22 years old. On the 30th of July 2022, just 2 days after the incident, the police arrested Skebas in a raid. News of the arrest spread rapidly throughout the British media, bringing some relief to the Boston community, which was living in fear. The subsequent interrogation and investigation made the case even more horrifying. The police found no relationship or animosity between Skebas and Lilia's family. This was not a revenge, nor a robbery, nor a personal conflict. It was all just a random, irrational, and cold act of violence. Psychiatric experts were invited to evaluate Skebas's condition, but the conclusion showed that he did not suffer from a serious illness that would cause him to lose control of his behavior. In other words, this was not a person who had temporarily lost his mind, but a person who was fully aware of his actions. The final conclusion of the police affirmed: the murder of Lilia Valentite was a senseless crime, without motive, without reason, leaving only horror for the victim's family and the whole community. It was this absurdity that made public opinion even more indignant and painful when the death of an innocent girl was decided in a completely unusual and cruel moment. After more than a year of investigation and preparation, the case of the murder of little girl Lilia Valentite was officially brought to trial at Lincoln Crown Court in late 2023. This event attracted special attention from the British public, as the whole society expected a severe sentence for the person who took the life of an innocent child. During the trial, the evidence against Davidas Skebas was presented clearly and convincingly. CCTV footage recorded him appearing near the scene right before and after the crime. Testimonies from witnesses present at Fountain Lane described the scene where he approached Lilia, pulled out a knife, and attacked in a flash. Forensic examination results also reinforced the accusation. The wound on Lilia's body matched the type of knife Skebas carried. Faced with the mountain of evidence, Skebas could not deny. He did not give any clear justification, only admitting that he stabbed the girl. When asked why, he could not explain, only kept silent or gave brief answers, making the case all the more horrifying, a crime without a motive. The jury affirmed this was a senseless murder, causing immeasurable pain to the family and the community. The judge stressed that the randomness and coldness of this crime increased the horror, because it proved that anyone could become a victim. The final sentence was life imprisonment for Davidas Skebas, with a minimum term of 29 years before being considered for parole. That means, at least until 2052, he will not have the chance to be free. When the verdict was announced, the courtroom fell silent. Lilia's family shed tears, both pained and somewhat comforted that justice had been served. But for a mother who lost her 9-year-old child right before her eyes, no sentence could erase that pain. Lilia Valentite's death shook the entire country. Boston, a small town known for its peacefulness and close-knit community, suddenly became the epicenter of fear. For days, newspapers, television, and social media were filled with images of the case, a reminder that evil can appear where you least expect it. On Fountain Lane, locals spontaneously set up a makeshift memorial for Lilia. Hundreds of fresh flowers, candles, and small stuffed animals were placed side by side, creating a memorial that glowed every night. It was not only a way to share the loss with the Valentite family, but also a way for the community to come together to face the pain. For Lilia's family, the pain was indelible. Her mother, Inga, saw her daughter for the last time through the glass window, helplessly watching the horrific scene. That image will forever be a wound that will never heal. The case has raised concerns about random crimes, when a child, a passerby, or even anyone can become a target. It has also sparked fierce public debate about managing immigrants with violent behavior, as well as improving child safety in public places. Today, the name Lilia Valutait is not only a reminder of tragedy, but also a symbol of the fragility of childhood. Her story reminds society that we can never be complacent when it comes to public safety, especially the protection of innocent children. The death of Lilia Valutait has shocked the whole UK. A random, senseless act, but took the life of a 9-year-old girl. This case not only raises questions about evil in modern society, but also forces us to look at ourselves. Are we doing enough to protect children in public? How can random attacks be prevented, or are they just unforeseeable tragedies? And finally, does justice really ease the pain of a family who has lost their beloved child? What do you think of this case? Leave a comment below. Share your views on the sentence of Davidas Skebas. Is a minimum life sentence of 29 years enough to bring justice to Lilia? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on other true crime stories that we will continue to bring. Lilia's story is a painful reminder that safety can never be taken for granted, and that the responsibility to protect children rests with all of us.